Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the TheCivShow podcast. I'm your host, Moisos,
Raising Zozo.
and
I
we
feel like
suck, so
something
you don't have to.
something's wrong, Moy. I,
Yeah,
I feel empty, a little empty. I feel like a little less of a person right now. What's going on? What is it?
something's missing.
I don't.
Is it? You shaved your head, didn't you? You cut your hair.
It's not. Did we used to have a bird on the show, like in a cage? Oh, no,
Uh,
that's Zam. That's Zam's
no,
bird.
yeah,
No,
wait,
that was
no,
a long
no,
time
no.
ago.
Hmm.
Well, I'm sure it'll come to us.
Yeah.
The thing that's missing.
Dang, it must. I can't think of it. Something's different though, definitely.
Something's different. Hopefully, we'll figure that out.
If you weren't here last Sunday, you missed a fantastic show with Van Bradley as our special guest, one of the hosts of the Civ Give. It was an all random affair. Everybody picked random. It was all random maps, all random resources. Nobody knew what was going to go down, but there was a victor in the end. Who was it, Zoe? Can you remind us? Who was it?
I was just gonna say that up was down, down was up. Cats and dogs living together. As far as who won, that's a very subjective term.
Is it? No,
One.
it's pretty measured.
It depends. Like, are you looking at it from like who won the best looking host? Who was most charming? Was it
that's
best
true.
singers?
That's true.
Best
I think we can all agree on
solo musical.
who won that one, right? I think we
definitely
Van Bradley.
It was Van Bradley.
Oh,
Van Bradley
100%.
won. Now I remember near the end you were all like, "Hey, Van Bradley, you're not all that in a bag of potato chips." And I'm like, "What the heck, Boomer? What are you talking about?"
Whoa,
I said to you. And then we were like, okay, Moy, all right, fine. Who do you think won the game? And then you were like, obviously it was me.
Okay.
And then you told him to shut up, and I was just like,
whoa,
wow,
some serious accusations here, sir. I would never defame a guest like that. How dare you?
You did it with your eyes, man.
Did I?
You did it with your eyes.
Dang.
Yeah.
Eyes tell all, don't they?
They do. So Van Bradley officially won, but if we had to say unofficially who won, I guess technically, if you go by like score or whatever, I guess it would have been that won the game.
Boy, yeah,
and it doesn't need repeating. Yeah. Doesn't need repeating.
No, Van Bradley definitely won the fan favorite. We put a poll in the chat that night, and everybody spent all of their channel points to vote for Van Bradley. He was a fan favorite for sure. So congratulations, Van Bradley, on your win. But let's talk about what happened in the game. I played the Mally, you played Eleanor, which is really, really funny that we had Van Bradley in the show that night. He hates Eleanor. I don't know if you know this though, but Van Bradley has a mug, like he designed a mug that says "Say no to Eleanor," and it has Eleanor with like a do not sign crossing through both of the characters.
Yes, I have heard the legend of his hatred of Van Bradley's hatred of Eleanor, and it was like there's even the bet in the chat, right?
Right. Yeah. Somebody bet that Eleanor would be in the game, and he's like, "No way, there's not." And Eleanor was in the game, so Van Bradley gifted us a subscription. Yeah,
he's a man of his word, more than I can say about my opponent Moy in that game. But so yeah, wow. That was
okay. Rude.
Oh Moy. You did well. I enjoyed the French.
What happened?
I enjoyed the French. I don't think I built as many wonders. I held my own though. I held my own.
Yeah.
And
so.
you got really ballsy with your faith, and you basically brought it. And I wasn't having. I wasn't even diplomatic about it.
Okay.
I wasn't even diplomatic about it. I declared war.
At that point of the game, I was too powerful, I think. It wouldn't, I knew what I was doing. I'm like, go ahead. I don't care. right? I can make units whenever I can defend against you. There's not enough time for you to come all. You were pretty far away from me. There's not enough time for you to
Mhm.
come all the way to my land, take over my cities, and make me lose
And
enough score or enough points for you to
yeah,
win. So
that map was tricky. I felt we were all really far apart from each other. Like I didn't feel that any of us was running. I don't know if we ended up because we did. Was it shuffle or what did we do?
it was shuffle. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so the continent was kind of
It was like a U
snake.
shape
It was
almost. It was like
snaky, and like we were connected.
yeah,
Technically, we were connected, but it was just we were all so far away. And but what I do love is that when I called on the rest of our Civ hosts to declare war, they answered the call,
it did.
and we all declared war. Unfortunately, all you needed to do was turtle, and that's what you did. You didn't really present. But you know what? That was probably one of the first games in a while that I could have said if we had gone another week, that could have been worthy of it. I don't think it was. Your
I don't
victory,
know. Okay, okay.
your victory was not guaranteed by
Really?
any means. It was not
Okay,
guaranteed.
okay.
I know you were going for the religious victory,
Not
but
necessarily, but
well,
we'll get
okay.
there. We'll get there.
Your score because you were only like 100 points ahead, I
I was
think,
200
for the
points ahead. I
final.
was
Yeah,
really
maybe, maybe. But we gotta end the game, and we started pretty late, I think, too, right?
But we also ended late.
And we ended late,
Yeah.
so it's fair to say that we all won because we got to play with Van Bradley,
Yes.
and
Yes.
I think I made him laugh. If he had milk in his mouth, he would have spit it out through his nose at one point.
Yeah.
Just a really top notch, humorous fellow. And so far our Civ gives they're givers.
Dude, our guests have been
They're givers.
fire. They've been
They're so
amazing.
great. They're each one, and we had that spectacular opening poster.
Mm-hmm.
That was really good. Hey there, those to
Both.
see you there. And we got a new emoji out of
Yeah,
it.
we did.
We got a new emoji out of it. So
Oh, what an
I
emote.
think
Oh man.
the
Sorry.
journey was more entertaining than the destination, and it was just a really fun, jovial moment. And I think just I'm liking having some awesome guests. I think it's something we're gonna maybe yeah, we're promoting the Civ Give, but I think beyond that, it was just really great having such energy and charisma on the show, and Van Bradley has it all. So
Dude, that guy's a ball of energy. I don't know, like, if anyone can contain that man. He's so, like, out there. This dude was, like, hyping us up so hard. He was calling out everybody who was following us and hosting us, whatever. He was doing the announcements. He's not even, like, you know what I mean? He's not even, like, the main part of the Civ show, but he was just doing us, like, he was hosting for us. Like, it felt, like, so, like, wow, like, thank you. You're making my job easy.
yeah, and the chat was great. There's a lot of good conversation going on. I think did Zam rate us? I think
Zam
at one
did rate
point.
us. Zam rated us,
Love
and
Zam. I love Zam.
Peppermint Butler or Bose. No, it was Bose. Wow, it was Bose. Oh, sorry.
Bose can't remember. You can't remember Bose. Oh my, oh
No,
my.
he had his 12-hour stream. I remember now. He had his 12-hour
And that's
stream.
why
Yeah.
you should have remembered even more the sacrifice that this
Oh
man has
no.
made,
Oh no.
Moy.
Oh.
And that's Moy. That's why in really you lost, and it's just it's not you didn't lose the game. It's the attitude, Moy. It's
I
all
know.
about the attitude.
I'm
Okay, you
I'm a
gotta.
terrible human being. How do you live with
You
that?
know
Why do
the,
you
the
why do you
first
play with me? You're
the first step, Moy. The first step of solving a problem is admitting you have one, and I think That's good. It's good. It's a good. You're coming forward.
I do
You're
have a
coming.
problem. I have a problem with remembering names.
Mm,
It's legit. I'm actually very bad at remembering names. I heard this, like,
every-
there's a trick. There's a trick to it.
yeah, what is
And
it?
the CEO of my company that I work at, my full time job, he will remember your name no matter what. If he meets you once, he'll remember your name, and it's a trait that I feel like a lot of very successful people have. And there's a lot of tricks that you can do to remember names. This is completely off topic. I understand that, but like this, whatever. The trick to remember someone's name, apparently, like, or part of it, is to once you hear the person's name. So like, hello, my name is Moy. You respond immediately with the name. Oh, hello, Moy. Nice to meet you, Moy. How? Like, and then you kind of keep repeating the person's name to them, and then you will attach the name to the face if you just keep repeating the name immediately after you hear it. Fun fact.
I used to teach that to high
Yeah?
school students.
Oh.
One of the things is when you're having a conversation, say their name a few times, and it's also a good way to build rapport, because believe it or not, your favorite word in your home language is your name. You love hearing your name, whether you like your name or not. You love hearing
I've
your
heard
name.
it. I've heard that. Yeah.
You respond to your name. So if you hear it a couple times coming from somebody, but often what it really comes down to is just paying attention, and if you pay attention, you'll be fine. And people don't pay attention; they zone out, or they they want to do all the talking. But yeah, it is a trick. Some people don't need it. Some people just pay attention, and they're like, "Oh, hello." They do it right away.
They do.
They do it.
Bose says very true. Anytime I hear Bose, my ego grows 4 sizes. I'm sure.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
He's like the Grinch, where his heart grows and it just gets bigger. And what he does as it gets so big is he hides it in his beard.
Oh.
Yeah,
Wow.
and he tucks it.
That's
He
why.
tucks it down. Yeah,
Oh.
sometimes you'll notice like he'll tuck his beard like this, and he squeezes it, and it's all over the floor. It's a big mess. But I think he actually keeps a little swimming pool, a little kid pool, something like that.
Oh man.
You can get messy.
What are you talking about?
It's ego. It's all over the floor, Moy.
All over the floor.
Sometimes it's on the walls.
Oh man.
You gotta watch out.
Back to
the game. So we did. It was all random.
Yes, it was. Yes.
It was all random, and we rolled for the city states. There's only 3. I think that's why the map maybe seems so big.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, because there's only 3 city states. I mean, there
3.
should have been
at least 6, I think. At least 6, if not 8. I think 2 per player, I think, is the standard.
I think that's right. Yeah, I think that's right.
And we got apocalypse mode, I think, right? We rolled apocalypse mode.
We did roll apocalypse mode.
And I don't know. I think we got the light version. I don't know. Maybe I got lucky. Volcanoes. I think I got hurt once or twice by volcanoes, which were everywhere.
They did say they reduced the amount of natural disasters that happen in apocalypse mode naturally, and so I think maybe apocalypse mode has been tuned where later down the line, that's when it gets really, really hectic. We didn't get to even stage 2.
No meteors. No. Yeah, nothing.
Well, of course, definitely no meteors, or no comets, rather. Meteors, apparently, it's in the patch notes later, which we'll get to it. There was a bug. It was a bug that meteors weren't happening. And so they fixed that. Spoiler alert for the patch notes later on. Yeah, we played apocalypse mode. And I played... Oh, man. Go ahead.
I did not flip a single city. So we were all too far apart, I felt. And again, I think that it's the city state, like maybe even starting locations it, considers the city states.
You were sort of close to Canada, though.
He had one city that was close enough that I had a slight amount of influence over, but ultimately it was just too far away. And so I didn't get, like, Eleanor's thing didn't do anything. Not to mention Van Bradley, that lovable scamp. He was playing Canada specifically to screw over his least favorite civ, which was Eleanor. So he was making sure that he was getting all or as many of the great works as he can.
Oh, okay. Smart.
So, and Canada is a legit. The Canada strategic. One of their victory conditions can be culture. They can do it.
Yep.
But like Eleanor, as he mentioned a couple times, they're a ruthless military without fighting, because of their capacity to flip cities. And I think I might have had 6 great works and I was trying. Like, all of my cities had the theater district in it, and it did not pan out.
Did you
So
move your great works to the closest city of Canada?
I did. I
Yeah.
did. I moved them around.
Okay.
I moved them all around, and it didn't. It wasn't enough. Insufficient Vespane gas.
Nice reference.
So
Nice.
yeah. Um, and then of course the
The
shuffle. We
shuffle
played with
mode. Shuffle
the
mode. Yep.
shuffle.
Yep.
And I think that the craziest part was like it's random for whether you get. And I so far every game I've played, it's either you get political philosophy right away, like the second thing that you
Which
civic,
we did.
or no, this time we didn't.
We
No, it was
oh
the last
sorry
one. It was
sorry
like,
early
oh,
empire. I'm thinking early
yeah,
empire.
we got early empire right away. It's like, oh wow, early empire, and then political philosophy, no, and we had to wait forever for political, and that was trying. But all in all, I still think that that mode is okay. Like
Yeah.
I think I still think my favorite mode so far is the secret societies, and I like dramatic ages, but I'm good at the era game.
I've been getting better at the era game. You see how much score I had with the era
You're
last game?
yeah,
Oh my god.
yeah,
I was killing
yeah,
it. I
yeah.
did
Okay, so
everything. I did everything.
this guy,
I'm learning it,
okay,
so I'm
the
learning it.
horseshoes for his starting location. And especially now, he doesn't have to worry about the desert. I don't think the desert wipes away your thing anymore. This guy, of course, he went with work ethic, and so
Of course.
he was touting like sacred square shrines with like +10 adjacency
Oh, that
bonus.
was so nuts. Yeah, next to the
So that's
natural wonder,
+20.
Patiti, Mali
So
Desert, Petra. Hello.
oh,
Oh, it's
jeez. So like
beautiful.
all of his cities were like 50 production, and that's what work ethic does.
Yep.
It's not even like, so I had one city, my Zozo, I believe, was like 53 or something. Like it was a high production, but it was one city that had a high production. All the rest were highest was like 20, and then it went 16, 13. All of your cities were in the 50 range.
Yeah, the Mali
So
with that was insane. It's like almost like when you first introduced it with Canada, and you had all of those, right? This one was nuts. Yeah, it was so Patiti spawning in the desert and me spawning right next to it was a
right
big
next
plus.
to it.
Right, not
Right,
right next to. I had to build 3 cities away, so it was like 10 tiles,
was
20 tiles. Not,
it
not
was
20, but
it was
it was
it was
quite.
close enough.
Yeah,
It
it was
was
close
close enough
enough.
that you were able to get it very rapidly, and
Yes.
like the Mali, like you can't stop the Mali getting their desert thing because they're earning faith from turn one,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you just can't compete on a faith level, and like you had a couple ways out there. Like I don't know, you probably could have achieved any of the victory conditions. Like your
I had
production
so much
crazy.
military, man. That was
You
all
got
on
your
Nystagmus's
military.
border, and like, oh
That
my
was that
gosh,
was neat. You guys kind of had a like obviously you wanted him to attack you,
I
but
did.
he did not have a small military.
No, but I think
He
I could have inched forward. I think, and I would have eventually, because I had the best amount of like melee units as well as ranged units. So if I just inched forward in like a phalanx kind of format, I would have eventually hit his cities. Just it would have
yeah,
taken a while.
yeah, and I think Nystagnus played. Nystagnus isn't here. That's that's what we
Oh,
that's
oh,
that's what we.
oh!
Oh,
You're absolutely right.
oh, oh,
Oh my gosh.
it's I knew it was, if it wasn't that I shaved, that's what it was that Nystagnus isn't here with us yet today.
It's like leaving your kid at the grocery store. You just
That's what.
don't even remember.
You
Oh
know,
shit.
his dad left me once. Like technically, my dad was responsible too, but they left me at like the community pool. They both just thought that I was in the other's car,
Oh no.
and I was and this is in North York, in Toronto, not exactly the safest area. Yeah, that was fun. That was a childhood memory, and I blame him directly.
Oh
Obviously,
yeah. It's definitely his
he
fault. Yeah.
probably said to my Zio, "Oh yeah, he's in the other car." That's just the kind of disturber he is. But he played a very very good game.
He did play a good game actually. I think everyone played like to the best of their ability. It's just work ethic. Work ethic won. That was really in the end what happened, right?
I think work ethic won, but I do think the lack of city states, it really, I almost think like next time if we do roll random and we roll like under a certain threshold, we should just decrease the map size to force us to be closer together. I think that would have made a big difference, because essentially you were left to just thrive unopposed. And we all, like, technically we all were, but because the Mali, just like Canada, have the default of you're likely to start in desert, and you did. Yeah, like your capital, I think, was part desert, part not desert, but then to the north of you was like
all
this
desert.
massive, beautiful desert, as far as the Mali can see. And then when you realize that your mine's built gold, like
it was game over.
My mine's built
My
gold.
gosh, I had so much trade. I wasn't actually making a lot of gold per turn, but I was making enough for me to matter, because I was making a lot of faith per turn, and then I got Grandmaster's Chapel. So then I was just buying units from faith.
And you're supposed to buy units. You're not supposed to build units. The Mali get a penalty to build units. You're supposed to buy your units.
Yeah.
So yeah, everything was coming out Millhouse for you. So well done.
Thank you. Well, thank you. Let's take a small break, and when we come back, we're going to be talking about the official October free update patch notes. And we're going to be going through those and analyzing what's important, what's not important. So we'll be back right after these messages, which is just really a song. So prepare to sing along. Bye.
Yes, after these messages, we'll be right back.
Welcome back to the Civ Show podcast, where we suck so you don't have to. Let's talk about the October patch notes. They're here, they're in writing, and we can read exactly what they wrote down for these patch notes. Let's start with the most exciting part about this, apart from the pirate scenario. We're gonna save that for the end. The Gran Colombia nerfs. It's been rumored, it's been said. Now here they are.
Yeah, I love that it's like the Maya and Gran Colombia pack. Like it mentions that, but really, the balance is just for the latter. It has nothing to do.
It was targeting the pack though. So if you didn't buy New Frontier Pass and you only bought the Maya and Gran Colombia pack, this affects you.
Yes,
is what that was probably targeting.
There were a couple map patches, and then there was definitely a big one was the city state thing that was good. Obviously, we know that Gran Colombia, little bit of a different civ.
They're pretty good. Yeah, pretty good.
Pretty impressive. It's the simple things, and the main thing being that just the +1 movement. But then when you add the general era, every era getting a general and an amazing unit, it turns into a pretty fantastic civ.
Yeah.
So it's funny, like we were discussing this before, and I think we just said they need to remove one thing, and that would be it, and that would be fine. And instead what they did was they just made a few little nerfs instead of removing any one thing. So they still have their special unit, they still have their generals, they still have their Hacienda, but they've just been slightly modified.
So they reduced the Lanero adjacent strength from +4 to now +2. So it's +2 per every adjacent Lanero. They dropped the Comandante General, I believe it's pronounced. Sorry if I ruined that. They've changed that to no bonus movement anymore to the surrounding units, instead of the +1 that they used to have. So only the great generals alone give plus movement.
Yeah, and when you stack with generals, when you stack with great generals, that gets a little ludicrous because you're looking at a +1 from your civ, a +1 from your general, and then a +1 from another general. And then, of course, if you have logistics, that's +4.
Yeah.
That's +4. Your unit with a movement of 2, your warrior, has a +6 movement when he's moving with these guys. Your Lunero, who has, I think, a 6 is his base?
I think it's 4.
Or is it 4? If it's 4, okay, 10.
Yeah.
Okay. Or
yeah.
Sorry, 8.
So
8.
that
Still,
I think that's why that's why they got rid of it in the unique general, because the civ already has the +1 movement. So there's no point for a unique person to also give them the +1 movement. So that makes sense to me. As a
and just
player.
I know I'm the most low tech boomer out there. I can just imagine from a coding perspective, it'd be a lot easier to modify the unique general for this civ than to have that the generals are modified specifically for this civ, but they're the same for everybody else. So I'm guessing that's an easier fix than saying because really, well, is it though?
Yeah, because it's a unit. It's one unit, and like every civ inherits that one unit, the same unit. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I got that information from a telegraph. Okay,
see, that's old technology.
Okay.
Yeah, if you got it from a carrier pigeon, you can't believe it. That was probably from like 200 years ago, my dude.
I got the telegraph. So either way, not to mention though, like you're not guaranteed a general, a regular general, right? Correct. It's not a guarantee that you're going to have one. So I think I like better that they did it to the guaranteed, because you end up having most of them. I always found it difficult to justify using them, spending them, unless like it was the big war, and I wanted an extra attack turn or something. Oh, what's going on? What's happening? I feel complete. I feel complete and whole again. We're just talking about the mild nerfing to several abilities to Gran Colombia, as opposed to the original idea of maybe just removing one thing would make it fair. So they've nerfed a few things. So your precious Grand Columbia, Nystagmus, how do you feel about what they've done here?
Do you know what they did?
No,
You know
I
what they did?
actually don't.
Okay.
Sorry, guys.
So
tell them what they did.
Yeah, I'll recap here. So they reduced the Lanero adjacent strength from +4 to now +2. Okay, so they halved it. They dropped the Comandante General bonus movement from +1 to now 0 bonus movement at all. So instead, they just get the Civ +1 plus the regular Great General +1, but they don't get that +1 movement from their unique general. They dropped the Hacienda's housing to 0.5, so it's not a full housing anymore. The Hacienda can also be affected by droughts, natural disasters, whereas before it couldn't have. And that's it. That's it.
But that's like
that's
for the Maya Grand Columbia pack, like half of the is on them. And like I said, I think I like they nerfed everything a little bit as opposed to just nerfing one thing entirely.
Well, and also it's a little bit different than what we were thinking. We were thinking we were going to take away something. All they did was kind of take it away.
They just made everything
we thought they were going to take away something, but they just took something away.
Like instead of taking away just having generals or taking away the +1 movement, right?
Oh, yeah.
They kept the ability, but just made it less dramatic.
Do you think it's enough though?
I think it's fine.
It's a playable Civ still. You still have, for the most part, a pretty insane movement. Yes. You're still very likely, having like a 5 movement. So for a lot of units, that's a movement, and like for siege unit, that's a movement and an attack still. Even on difficult terrain. So all in all, I think so. Like I have to actually go and play and see.
I think the Yanero adjacency strength was kind of like enough. Like I think that even just that was enough, because if you think about how many on average in an average case is adjacent to another Yanero, it's probably 2. You probably have like packs of 3 in a typical case, right? So you have 2 other ones that are adjacent to you. Before, that was +8 combat strength. +8 combat strength is a lot of damage.
That's a balance tipper.
That's almost enough alone to counteract a anti-cavalry unit, which I believe gains +10 against an anti-cavalry. Don't quote me on that. I don't know the exacts of it, but it's almost enough to counter a anti-cavalry unit. So now with only +4, that dramatically reduces that, and it's at least a little bit more manageable where pike and shots, the unit that is supposed to counter a Lanero, is enough to counter them. I think that was a great change. Everything else was kind of like Hacienda to 0.5 housing. Okay, I understand. Like there are city-state improvements that give you full housing, and those are really, really, really valuable, right? The chalky amounts, for example, really valuable, and they just wanted to reduce this in order for those to still be very valuable, which I respect.
Okay, but a Hacienda is like the U-boat of this civilization. Like,
it's +1 housing is huge, no matter what.
Yeah, it's later in the game. True. It's not a big deal.
But it shows up at the same time as the Laneros.
Yeah, I know. I think that in general, the Hacienda is this civilization's U-boat, because the rest of the Civ is fine.
Yes, it's the worst part about it.
It has to give it something, and every Civ gets either a district or an improvement of some kind. So that is their U-boat. So that's not a big deal, in my opinion.
Yeah.
The other 2 are the major one that I think it's enough. Now there was a couple other changes. I still haven't used these knee hangs yet.
Dude, they're so good.
I only know by how excited Moy gets when he talks about. So the cost scaling for purchasing them. So now the tech progression scales to ×4 its base cost.
That's fair. So that's very fair. They needed that. Yeah, they were way too cheap for how useful they were, and so them adding that, because like even their base unit is really good. When you get to like the core or the army version of it, by the time you have a military academy, this thing is so incredible. It has like over 100 strength or something like that. It's incredible. And so them at least increasing the cost of it is just makes complete sense. It makes complete sense they would do that because it's way too powerful. The strength goes up over time, but the cost never went up over time. So now at least the cost of it goes up with the strength. So this makes complete sense to me.
Yeah, so I think that's good. I'm sure I'll try them one day and be like, why are these so expensive? They fixed the issue preventing forest fires and meteor showers from showing up as intended in a non-apocalypse game.
I never noticed these before.
I noticed the meteorite. I noticed the meteorite.
Rare though.
They are rare. They're very rare. It's like, and I only ever got like a chariot or two. But the forest fire was one that I was a surprise. I thought that the forest fire was only for apocalypse mode. So I guess we're going to see that. And then now, so they've really done some stuff with apocalypse mode.
I wouldn't worry about these two things. Let's just skip over these. Don't worry about it. Skip over it. So let's go to the Ethiopia pack. Trade cities, city-states now give 2, 4, and 6 gold as their envoy bonuses. I don't know what it was before. I thought it was 2, 4, 6. So maybe I'm mistaken. No, maybe it was 1, 3, 5.
1, 3, 5, I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then vampires now count free cities units as barbarians for gaining combat strength. So that's cool.
Worth it. Yeah, please. Yes.
Yeah. Now a free city is specifically a city that's flipped.
Yes. Correct.
Right. That's not a city-state.
No.
Yeah. So that's cool.
In dramatic ages, I've never experienced this personally, but repeated dark ages will no longer result in a negative golden age threshold score. It is now a minimum of 0.
Wow. I can't imagine. Like, that's like where you might question whether or not Civ is for you, and maybe just stick to Super Mario if you've got a negative era score like that. And then they updated the era score meter in dramatic age to properly display information. I'm guessing that just means that that there's more data now, or more like it'll tell you more in the Civlopedia, maybe, or maybe when you go over the actual meter.
Yeah, the timeline.
Yeah, the timeline, or like when you click on the thing, maybe it just has a better list of like all the maybe all the ways to earn points. So we'll have to fiddle around with that one. It's a score meter specifically. Properly displays information. Okay.
Espionage. They changed the spy mission, so you can no longer spy on people you have an alliance with.
I don't agree with this.
Why?
I don't agree with this. I think that spying on our allies is a NATO tradition, and it's how we keep each other sharp. But I get it. I just I think it should be like when you're like a high level alliance. When you're first getting to know somebody, I gotta get my intel, brother. I gotta make sure that you're on the level.
Well, then that's what friends are for.
If this alliance is gonna go anywhere,
you spy on your friends. You just don't spy on your allies, right?
Maybe. I don't think I like anything that restricts. I think espionage needs to be better. I want more spying. It was like, it's one of my favorite things for Civ 4 was like just the list of things you could do was really cool. And I don't mind if it was like even unlock only with special policy cards or something. I'd like to see more stuff with spying. But either way, neither here nor there. And then this one, I think, we knew about this one.
Yeah.
Recruit partisan missions now pillage the neighborhood district so that it cannot be spammed. And spawns only anti-cavalry units, the weaker units than previously.
So I want to mention something.
It used to be like infantry, right? It'd be like infantry.
It'd be anything, or cavalry even.
Yeah,
random. But I want to mention this, where I heard this in Vector Cat's podcast with Bose. They were claiming that this only proves that anti-cavalry units need a buff because they suck, right? If they're gonna always spawn them.
They got the statue of Zeus. Come on. What more could you want? I think the idea ultimately with them is you got to stay in formation to get your flanking on, and they're kind of intentionally not the greatest, because like when you get them, you get them a little earlier, right? Like you get the spearman, you're gonna get that earlier than the swordman,
Yeah,
which
but the
that's
spearman I
you're
would say is equivalent to the warrior.
but the spearman
Because
will destroy a chariot,
but a
right?
warrior will beat a spearman.
Not
It
always. A
will. No, it will. It
spearman,
will. So a warrior
the
gets
spearman.
+7. A warrior gets +7 combat strength and gets anti-cavalry units. The anti-cavalry unit has 5 more melee strength than the warrior. So warrior has 20 strength. The spearman has 25 strength. I know this because I looked at this in one of my games. And
But
then
their
when you
first,
attack with the warrior, when you're attacking an anti-cavalry unit, you get +7. So the base strength of a warrior is lower than an anti-cavalry unit, but they get a bonus so that they make sure that they will like do more damage.
is it the first upgrade they get like +10 versus melee units?
+5.
I thought it was +10.
+5. So then
Okay.
they will do more damage than a melee unit, but they need an upgrade in order for them to do that. Whereas even a warrior, when they upgrade, they get +7 against land units, which include
See,
a spearman.
I've always seen military units as going, recon, anti-cavalry, melee, and then cavalry, and then siege are kind of part of that. Siege and archery are kind of on their own thing. I don't know. So I like this guy. Somebody's you can't. I don't. Like. Are you basically saying it should be fair? It should be like rock paper scissors, and they should be exactly even.
Well, that's
I
kind
don't
of how
think
they laid
that's
it out.
it.
That's how they laid it out, though. So like cavalry beat melee, melee beat anti-cavalry, anti-cavalry beat cavalry. That's how they laid it out.
Well, that's traditionally how it's supposed to work. I don't know. I get you. I get you. They're cheap though.
What's the problem then?
There's no real problem. Just the more you're saying that, and you might be right that that they need a buff, that maybe they are weak, and like now if they're saying that you're only going to get anti-cavalry units, which are apparently the weakest unit of the serious military units, well, now we know.
Well,
That's what
so
partisans are.
I think the difference is specialization, right?
Okay. Yeah. No, I agree with you, but go ahead.
So the idea behind it, so any anti-cavalry unit you've ever, like whenever they create them, right? They have to be used in formations. And so like spearmen, pikemen, they're not like one off that one pikeman can take down a knight. It's a row of pikemen can take down a bunch of knights, right? Mm-hmm. And so the idea behind the anti-cavalry unit is, historically speaking, they can't act alone. They have to act in unison.
They need that flanking bonus. Yeah.
And so, support bonus too, yeah.
Yeah. And so that's how they're supposed to be utilized. So they're not like weaker per se. They're just more specialized to the point where they're really only good at a specific role. Right. And so the idea behind the idea would be that you would have your melee units interspersed with anti-cavalry units, right? And then you would have your ranged units behind those units, and then your cavalry units would kind of be on the flanks of your army.
Mm-hmm.
Because the cavalry units have the most movement; they can move and outflank the army, whereas the melee and the anti-cavalry can act in unison, where the melee units can protect the anti-cavalry against other melee units, and the anti-cavalry can protect the melee units against the cavalry units, right? That's how they're supposed to be like used, even historically speaking. And so they're not like weaker, but like if anti-cavalry units were able to take on melee units, like step up to them at least, then you would just spam anti-cavalry units because they're cheaper, right? Like that's the idea, I think, that behind it.
I concur.
Moving to
speed scaling. We got some speed scaling.
The most important one here is unit experience no longer scales with game speed. This is huge. So when we play online speed, usually like it takes 2 or 3 attacks maybe for a unit to upgrade. It's no longer going to do that. It's going to still take like 6 attacks or like more. It's going to be more attacks even in online speed to upgrade your units. So there's going to be, the military almost feels not dead, but much more difficult because healing is going to be few and far between.
Why the heck did they do that?
I don't know, but they did it. Right? They did a lot of game scale game speed scaling stuff. Even with like diplomatic favor, that was like the main one.
I think they don't want people to play online speed anymore.
It's not that, but maybe it's they noticed that not enough units are dying. Maybe like there's no cost unless you are zerging, and if you want to use a StarCraft term here, zerging like a lot of units. Unless you're zerging somebody, you're not killing them, right? If it's an even battle, usually like you kill maybe one that's caught off guard, but it's gonna stalemate. You're just gonna stalemate. The only way to really beat somebody is to just overwhelm them. And so I think even when you overwhelm somebody, you're still taking damage, but like it's not that no one should die in your army. There's gonna be some deaths, but like that was the reason for the change, is that there's at least someone who's dying instead of just an overwhelming force where no one dies.
So to be clear, now units no longer scale. It's just they have a flat experience.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Now I like that. What I really like though about this, because I only recently discovered rating, as many of you know, is now rating yields will scale. Tier 1 rating will scale with game speed.
So what's the point of that then?
So it would get better,
you get
right?
Less. No, you get less in online speed. You get less.
Oh
that's
no!
Why. So that's more balanced
terrible.
now.
I hate it.
So like in marathon speed, or I guess we'll just say standard speed, you get 200 gold for pillaging a commercial hub. Let's just say 200 gold. In online speed, should you get the same amount, or should you get less? Because technically, you should be making less gold. Everything costs less.
I just find it weird that you if you pick and choose like what scales and what doesn't. Right?
Well, what the issue I have with that though is online speed is also less turns, right?
Yes,
so
yes.
I think the number should be it's the other way. It should be higher, because in a standard game, in a single era, there's going to be way more turns for me to do the rating. Okay. That it just
No. Okay, so if you get more gold, so everything costs more in standard versus online. So
right.
A worker in online costs 60, whereas in standard, I think it costs 100. Right, it costs more. So you should be getting, if you pillage something, right? If you get 100 gold in online, you can buy a warrior plus something. Whereas if you get 100 gold in standard, you can just buy the warrior. So it would make sense if you kill a commercial hub, you get 60 gold out of it in online speed and 100 gold out of standard speed. If you want to universalize things,
I think I just don't have a level of comparison just because we only play online. And as you know, like I've played a couple games of standard and I find it numbing. But different. So I wouldn't have noticed. Now I guess I will. Now I'll be like, oh, this is garbage. I don't get anything from rating. But that's okay. That's in general what they did. The amount of gold obtained from barbarian camps has changed. So what? I guess normally it's 50 gold, or now you're going to get less gold.
Yeah.
So
the cost of just everything in general, like, is kind of scaled now. You know, the favor cost for voting, the aluminum cost for space race projects, the uranium cost for nuclear weapons, everything scales now. So online speed's going to cost less, and then longer speeds are going to cost more. Moving to general fixes. I didn't know that you can do this, but rock bands can no longer play on pillaged buildings. That makes sense. You don't want to play in ruins, right?
I don't know. If it's a punk band, it should be able to. Okay.
That should be an upgrade.
Some alternative rocks.
Punk rock.
Yeah, punk rock.
No. It should be if it plays in a district, it then pillages it. That'd be good. That's punk rock, baby. Fix an issue where the Netherlands bonus of 50% towards flood barriers was not working. Interesting. I didn't know that. When forming a corps or army within range of a great general, it only applies abilities marked as permanent to the... I don't understand this. To the corps/army.
Oh, I think what was happening was when you know how some of the great generals can say like the next 2 units, like 2 units get like this promotion or whatever, people were like forming corps and armies, so that technically 3 units were doing it. Because then they merge. So I'm thinking that's what it is. That's my deductive reasoning on that.
Sure.
And then some various crash fixtures. I like it. I think the AI one, there's a couple big ones, but my favorite one is ensure AI repair city walls defenses promptly. I just why you're just giving me your city? Thank you, for not repairing your city walls.
I think the reduced number of spaceports is big. If you ever watched like a computer late game in like on like Deity or Deity, whatever how you pronounce it, they build a lot of spaceports. It's almost one in every city. It's ridiculous. So this was a well-needed change. The increased desire for Oracle and Pyramids, two really, really high-level wonders. I like that change. I think they should prioritize that just like humans do, right? They're just trying to replicate that kind of like human PvP style play in single player, right? So humans value these, the CPUs should also value these. And then also kind of like an exploit almost, where the decreased AI desire for diplomatic favor. I see everybody, myself included, I see everybody just selling their diplomatic favor for gold. Whoever's buying it at the highest price, usually Canada, they're just going to sell it to them for gold per turn. They don't need to make commercial hubs. They only have 3 trade routes. It doesn't matter because they're getting all their gold per turn by just selling their diplomatic favor left and right. I saw Peppermint Butler the other day sell, I don't remember how much, I think it was like 90 or 100, maybe 200 diplomatic favor for 60 plus gold per turn to Canada. 60 gold per turn. That's
yeah, that's what? A big. I love like especially Vector Cat's challenge recently, because it was a domination victory. I'm like, anytime I won a bunch of diplomatic points, it's like, well, I've got 3 capitals. I don't want it. I got like minus 17 a turn, and I would just sell it, and I'd get tons of gold, and I loved it. And now we don't get nothing. So that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I'm looking at you both too, buddy. I'm looking at you. You do
any
it too.
any fixes to AI is good. AI needs to be fixed. A lot of the UI stuff, I think a lot of it just looks like cleaning it up.
Yeah.
So secret societies first. Like there's little silly things like when you research a science or a civic, you'll notice that your experience bar will be full.
Yeah.
So that they got rid of that. Okay, not a big deal. And I guess there was ways to reveal information in some of the random modes. Not a big deal. So a lot of these just look like just improving the general gameplay or just a look, you know?
Yeah. And then they did some console ones. Yeah, so they fixed more important ones. Fix an issue where only enabling tech and civic shuffle mode caused the incorrect mode information and image to display in the create game menu. Sure. Nothing really like crazy, honestly, in the console changes. So those are the patch notes. And then we have the pirates. Yar, baby, let's go. Okay. I will start. Zoe, you'll go next, and then Nystagmus, you go next. We're all going to introduce one pirate, and then we'll leave the last one for like a. We'll see who gets it. The Dread Pirates. They have the ability called Walk the Plank. It can be used by every ship in the Dread Pirates fleet. It immediately sinks any badly damaged enemy ship in exchange for 3 movement and 5 combat strength for 5 turns. That is insane. So basically, they get +3 movement and +5 combat strength when they use this ability. So like, whoa, that's just more combat strength for all of your ships. So why wouldn't you take that? And fighting is what we do best. It is a passive ability, and you get +10 gold every time a unit engages in combat. Every time you attack, you get +10 gold. Dread Pirates definitely looking for the warfare to be the aggressor. They want to attack. They're the warmonger on all of this, and they look like a lot of fun.
Now, unlike my Dread Pirate companion here, we privateers believe in at least setting the stage so you understand why these abilities matter in any way, shape, or form. So the new Pirates ability, Pirates game, it's a 1 to 4 player game, so you can play it by yourself, which is cool. It's only 60 turns. Okay, so you only get 60 turns to do your thing. You're not building settlers or anything like that. The civilizations are there, and you're going a pillaging, you're going a raiding. You are like the barbarian factions, all right? And you are out there. So you're being challenged by Spain, Netherlands, England, and France. and essentially you're fighting to control the map. And they've produced a couple scenarios in there. The win-loss is you're trying to claim the Pirate King with the highest score at the end of 60 turns. The Pirate King who loses all their units will be eliminated from the match. Okay, so it's an interesting little. It's not a game mode. It is a scenario. It is a yeah. So it's like your Red Plague. Okay, so we'll see. I'd like to play it, but we'll see. So that's the Pirateer way, because we used to be men of the Empire, but now we're doing our own thing, is to cordially let you know what the game actually is about.
My bad.
So now that you know, hey, you're a Dread Pirate. You need to make people walk the plank. You need them to be scared of you. You do not want them thinking you're giving them proper information.
Sure, I'll go with that. It's not because I'm a bad podcast host. No,
I'll parlay. Okay, I'll parlay. All right.
Okay.
So the privateers. So bring her home. It's an active ability. So you can be used by every ship in the privateers fleet. Captures a badly damaged enemy ship for the privateer patron. Using Bring Her Home grants a +5 famous pirate points, which I'm guessing is part of the score.
Yes, it is.
And +100 gold in addition to the usual naval victories. It takes 5 turns to recharge. So this is cool. These abilities, 5 turns to recharge. I, in general, really like that, and I'd like to see regular game Civs abilities that have something like that. That it's really cool, really strong. Like, imagine if Khamir's elephants were actually useful, and they had like a super missile, but they could only. It'll take it's gonna take us 30 years to reload that thing.
Yeah.
Which is translates to every 3 turns. I really like that mechanic, and I hope that they play around with that more in the future. And then our passive ability is called a letter from the Marquis, and it grants the privateer a randomly assigned AI civilization as a patron, which is cool because privateers are essentially, they're pirates, but they work for one of the crowns unofficially. Okay, and if you remember in Civ 4, basically you got units that didn't have any flag, and you could attack anyone you wanted to. I really miss that feature. Yeah, and then they also have that the privateer knows the location of all their patrons' ports. Okay, so you'll know where all of the English ports are or all of the Spanish ports. Pillaging trade routes grants an additional 100 gold. That, to me, sounds like a super fun pirate to be.
So I want to quickly give a shout out to Peppermint Butler with the massive raid, by the way, of 29 people. Holy crap!
Yeah, I was gonna wonder if I was gonna say anything.
I saw it. I didn't want to interrupt the rant here. 29 people. Welcome everybody in Peppermint Butler's stream. Peppermint Butler, also thank you for the Prime sub, my dude. Appreciate it. And Pavel, thank you for the Tier 1 sub as well, dude. Thank you very much. Hello everybody. Okay, good. I'm happy now.
Can I just say that if Raising Zozo had to marry another gamer tag, it would totally be Peppermint Butler. It rolls off the tongue. Peppermint Butler. I don't know. And I've said this before, guys. I said I've never talked to Peppermint Butler before. I've said this before. Just what a great name, Peppermint Butler. It's just a perfect pairing of words. So shout out there for sure.
Let's move to Nystagmus. Why don't you introduce these swashbucklers?
And so I don't know too much about what's going on with this whole rant. I don't know how it took so long for Zoe to talk about 2 abilities.
Maybe because nobody knew what we were talking about.
Maybe
Nystagmus.
He was
what?
doing me a big solid, man.
Jeez, Nystagmus. Oh.
So the swashbucklers, so their active ability is Tack into the Wind. So you get gain a huge temporary movement boost that takes about 6 turns to recharge. Now that's really cool because I think that's kind of a play on the trade winds, I guess.
Yeah.
Where the trade winds kind of move downward to the Windward Islands. So the Windward Islands are in the Eastern Caribbean. That include islands like St. Lucia and Grenada. and so that's where the Windward Islands are. And so I think that might play on that ability as well. And then their passive ability is Sailing the Open Seas. So you get infamy for revealing more hexes on the map for that. So I've not played this. I've seen streamers playing the
game mode,
this scenario. It looks pretty fun.
It looks like a lot of fun. And then there's
I'd play it right now if you guys wanted to, but
we're not going to do it right now.
That's just me.
And then the last pirate is the Hoarder. This is probably one of the coolest abilities, in my opinion, in this whole pirate thing, is the Chain Shot. As a free action, all ships in the Hoarder's fleet can use the Chain Shot ability to anchor an enemy unit in place for 2 turns. And it takes 5 turns to recharge as well. So that means you could just anchor it down and have all of your melee ships just surround the crap out of this thing and be like, hey, bud, I heard you want a really good time. There's a lot of us surrounding you. Do you like this? I bet you do. And then they have the ability Mine, which unit maintenance cost is reduced by 3. Plus 10 treasure points by burying treasure. The Hoarder gets 3% interest on their gold reserves per turn when they bury the treasure as well. So
that's crazy.
Yeah.
3 per turn?
Yeah.
That's a lot. That's a lot to be reduced by. I think what I really like about this too, and I'd love to see this just a general mode, these relics. So this is kind of like the government's. That's like that. This is kind of like serves as like the civics, that you can get these powerful upgrades, and you can have up to 3 slots, and they all give you an ability. But they're like, and they're so totally themed, like Blackbeard's short fuse, crates of rum, I don't know. It's cute. It's really cute.
So let's not go through all of the relics because we are running out of time. Let's take a small break before we get into our third section. It is the 4th year anniversary of Civilization 6 today, folks, on October 22nd, because we're now past midnight. And we're going to be talking about our favorite moments in Civilization 6 and what we like and what we don't like about Civilization 6 and what they can carry over into Civ 7. So don't go anywhere because we will be right back.
Thursday.
Wow, what a quick break. That's crazy. Welcome back to the TheCivShow podcast, where we suck so you, in fact, don't have to suck. You're welcome. It is
you can still suck.
Yeah, you can still suck, I guess, but like we're probably worse than you, so don't worry about it. It is the 4th year anniversary of Civilization 6, and we survived the rise and fall of nations, faced the gathering storms, and started on a new frontier. What has been your favorite #OneMoreTurn moment in Civilization 6 throughout the entirety of the game? I kind of have one in mind.
Go ahead. You lead the way.
Okay, I'll lead the way. It is definitely when, for the first time, I believe it's the first time ever in Civilization through 1 through 6 that Canada has been involved at the world stage in Civilization, and I felt so represented, and I felt so good. I was like, yeah, Canada, let's go. It's not all European nations, baby. Wow. That was a hype moment for me. I loved it. When they announced it, I was so happy. I remember being really, really happy about that.
Yeah, me too. I do recall that. Okay, so you want like in general, not like a specific moment.
It can be a
like,
moment. It can be that. It could be an
Oh,
announcement, or it can be whatever you want it to be, man.
Like, I agree with you. Getting Canada was great. Actually, I love the versatility, or all the diversity. Like, I love that Australia's in there. Like, I love that they really opened it up. For me, my favorite, like, overall thing about Civ 6 is definitely the districts. I think that districts are so revolutionary. I think that districts are why I could never go back to Civ 5 other than its terrible World Congress. Districts they bring so much life to they show how really in Civ a city isn't just the one place. A city is not just tall one area of the map, okay? That the people go and work out there, okay? Like, they kind of had it in Civ 4 that, you could build your cottages up to little towns and stuff like that. But the districts, they scattered out the town, the city, and they showed that the city was more like a region, which I thought it was so innovative. I like, once you get your head, and that's what I say to people when they're getting new to Civ 6 is, oh, what's the difference? All you need to do is understand how districts work and how civics cards work. And once you get that, that's the two major innovations that Civilization 6 brought to the Civ franchise.
I don't understand when somebody tells me that Civ 5 is better than Civ 6 and they honestly don't really give me a reason. And then, apart from maybe the fact that there's new mechanics and you need to learn the game again, I don't know why anyone would make that argument, right? People don't want to learn new things. They have old habits. They want to stick to old habits, what they know. I get it. But you really need to challenge yourself to learn a new game. I think it's also why Beyond Earth didn't do so well, because people didn't want to learn new mechanics. But I think there's other reasons why that didn't go so well. But I think that was one of them. And then also that transferred over to Civ 6, when people just didn't want to learn the districts. Like, why am I killing an entire tile? Why am I not doing as well as the computers that are, like, I don't understand. Why am I not winning on Prince difficulty when it should be so easy, right? It's just because, like, you don't know the whole mechanics. The population determines the amount of districts you can have. You can see that you can't build a district. Sometimes you just don't understand why, right? Once you learn all that, Civ 6, when it comes down to it, is such a good, intricate game. It's amazing.
And I like that word, intricate. Civ 6, like, it really explores the complexity of civilization, which is, just the ability to stack things and mix them up. Like, that's why, like, almost equal to districts for me, it's the civics cards, is the policy cards. Like, now this potential to really mix and match your government and, make a unique sort of, and like, I don't know, for some reason I can visualize it better with the policy cards, like what the government is trying to do. And it's like, for the next 10 years, this was the policy that we had. And that it was just a wide variety, a big mix. And then I like that they added, like, a legacy. So, like, if you started as a classic republic, even though you might become a democracy in the end, there's still some legacy bonuses there that you can get. And, like, even now went so far as they gave you a legacy policy card. I think before it was always built in the government center. Was the, like, maybe it still is, but I think now they also give you a policy card.
My experience is a little bit different. So I was playing Civ, like, the older versions. I never really got into Civ 5. That's the kicker, right?
Okay.
So for me, the two biggest things, one, I don't know if anyone remembers Civ 4, but unit stacking was, like, ridiculous. I hated that. The way that the rolls went were really weird. Like, I saw archers kill tanks.
What?
Right? Like, in Civ 4, like, that, like, straight up happened. And it's because you could just stack units, and whenever you attack someone, it would always just match up the attacker's unit up against the best unit it could possibly kill. And so you had, like, these weird matchups where, like, like, sometimes it didn't matter if you had tanks. Someone can have, like, a heavily promoted, like, archer unit, and it would just, like, kill them anyway.
Wow.
So that was number one. Number two, the introduction of hexes, as opposed to the squares, made the game a lot better because it made it more dynamic in the way.
For sure. That was a Civ 5 innovation.
And then the last one is workers now having, like, they can only do so many charges. Because before in Civ 4, you could just, like, build one worker and just tell them to automate, like,
Yeah.
Yeah, Civ 5 is
improvements,
the same way. Yep.
and they'll just build railroads everywhere,
Yeah.
right? And so it was pretty like easy mode in that part. This one now it's like, okay, now you have to strategize where you use your workers and use those charges, because if you run out, then you have to build a whole new worker, right?
Yeah.
And so those are like the three major mechanics from my experience. Because Civ 5 I played maybe a couple times. I thought it was really cool, but I never got into it. But Civ 4 was the last time I was like really playing Civ a lot.
So
And those were the
speaking of like mechanics, I wanted to ask, what mechanics in Civ 6 do you also want to see in Civ 7? And also, as a contrast to that, what mechanics do you want to see go away in Civ 7? I'll start here as well, to give you guys some time to think. But mine was actually kind of taken. I love the districts. I love the districts, mainly because city planning has now become one of my favorite things about Civ 6. You know, when you settle a city, or even before you settle the city, you put your pins down. That pin mod that they introduced is amazing, and I'm so glad they implemented it into the base game. But when you put your pins down, you say, okay, I'm going to put my holy site next to these mountains and this natural wonder for this much adjacency bonus. Since I have a holy site here and I'm playing Mali, oh, they have a bonus when they put in a commercial hub or Saguba next to a holy site. So I'm going to put a commercial hub there. And then what's optimal there? Oh, I can put like the Great Zimbabwe beside it as well, because I have cows here. And then since I have the Great Zimbabwe, I can put the theater square there next to the commercial hub, and I can have this entire city planned out. And it's incredible. And you can have some sick looking civilizations if you can group some cities together and you group all of the districts together. The bonuses that you get from adjacent districts is insane. The cities look beautiful. I absolutely love the districts in Civ 6 so much, and I really want to see that in Civ 7. I will get to Lee's mechanic later, so go ahead.
Well, and I agree. Like, I love it, particularly how wonders are like a district too. And now, like, your land management resource, you have to care more. You know, where are you going to build things? Like, you only have so much space. Will you build near mountains, knowing that mountains are, for most civilizations, you can't do very much with them. So, you know, but that ultimately also means that you can build up a bit. Yeah, I really like districts. I hope Civ 7 keeps and improves policy cards for governments. I really like the idea that, you know, it's not that you're monarchy or democracy or whatever. It's like, yes, they still call them that, but it's the sum of your policies that make up your Civ. So it adds a bit of uniqueness to it. And I love the wild card. Like, I think it adds such a flavor to any, especially if you get it early. So I'd love to see them and just make it better. Like, take it and just run with it and make it even add, I don't know, another complexity. Maybe a fifth a fifth level or something like that.
Okay. Do you have anything?
one thing I would like to have it come back, at least in the single player game. I'd like the vassal state mechanic to make a comeback.
Oh, you want the Civ 5 mechanic? Okay.
Yeah. That's from Civ 4
4
as well.
Civ 4. Oh, my bad.
Yeah. And so, like, if anybody doesn't remember, when you're like defeating a computer player in Civ 4, they can like sue for peace, and one of the things they can offer is to become a vassal state. And it's just kind of like they become kind of this like side country that will share resources with you. They have to can only go to war when you tell them to. They'll always defend you, always. So anyone declares war on you, they'll also declare war on the aggressor. And so I thought that was a really cool kind of concept that and actually what happened in a lot of like feudal, especially in the feudal era, like when you're talking about kingdoms and stuff like that, a lot of times they didn't like conquer kingdoms outright. They would just turn other kings into other feudal lords. So like if anyone doesn't know how the feudal system operates, it's kind of like based on land. And so the lowest on the feudal system is the serfs, who are actually attached to the land. And the people who own the land are the lords. And the king is actually just the first among all the lords, right? So the king has his own fiefdom, his own land, but he just has servitude from all the other lords. And that's why the feudal system was so decentralized, because kings didn't actually like control everything directly. All the lords controlled everything, and they just paid homage to the king. And so what they would do is, instead of like say conquering your next kingdom, you would just turn that kingdom's king into one of your lords within the system. And so that was a kind of interesting concept that they did in Civ 4 that I thought would be kind of cool.
And it's just more economically viable because you don't have to murder their armies, you know, because they're now your armies.
And when you're playing multiplayer, you don't have to murder your friends. Like,
and if anyone remembers my video about Robert the Bruce, that's basically what Edward of England did to Scotland during that time. He didn't like outright conquer the land. He just basically turned it into a vassal state where all the lords in Scotland paid homage to the King of England. And so that's kind of like that kind of same setup.
So moving to your least favorite mechanic in Civ 6, mine would probably have to be the loyalty system. I think that I understand that you shouldn't be able to build a city like completely away from your empire in the middle of nowhere. I get that. And if loyalty worked that way, sure. But I think it's a little ridiculous that even sometimes, like, I'm building a city like 3 tiles, 4, 5, 6 tiles away from another city, and I'm getting like minus 20 loyalty, and I'm like, what the hell? When they introduced it, I didn't like it. I still don't like it. I don't want to see that back in Civ 7.
How about it modified?
Modify it, like, just make it less strong. So like if it's in the middle of nowhere, right? Sure. That can loyalty flip. That's fine. It's just like if I'm beside.
I'd also like to see the computers make better decisions.
Right,
like,
right. That
I've literally built like I was like on an island, and I was in the middle of the island, and Canada was on the other side of the island, and they moved a settler all the way. They asked me for open borders so this could happen. They asked me for open borders, and then they moved a settler all the way onto the other side of the island, settled a city, and then it immediately flipped to me.
Yeah,
like it was like the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen when I was playing the game.
That's what I mean.
So yeah, I get it. I get it. Like sometimes it does make it harder to settle cities. I think what they're trying to do though is that before they introduce that, you can like straight up settle cities like right beside each other in like the old Civ games that you can just be annoying,
right.
and just like, and back in Civ 4 at least, your culture production is what actually expanded your borders instead of like buying tiles and stuff. Mm-hmm. So you could just build a city, and because your civilization was building more culture, you would just like overpower the next city's like borders until it
was literally cultural warfare. One of the great people will do a big culture bomb, and
then suddenly all these cities. And basically, the problem with Civ 4's culture mechanic was you can basically turn, and I know that Van Bradley would love this. You can actually make anyone Eleanor. Because if you built enough culture and you built enough culture bombs, you could just start taking over other people's cities. Like I straight up took over an entire country, civilization one time in that game just by producing enough culture to overwhelm them.
Wow.
And so it was a pretty broken mechanic back then.
But Civ 4 was revolutionary. It was the apex Civ game, because Civ 3 introduced a lot of really cool concepts. The first one being cultural borders, and the corruption in corruption's always actually been the idea of loyalty, corruption, whatever.
Yeah,
has always been an idea, right? And it's been more severe in the past. But Civ 3 got a bunch of things not quite right, and Civ 4 was like just revolutionary. The way it did culture, the way it did great people. Like I could actually see us one day on the Civ Show trying it out.
Maybe.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of things in Civ 4 that were really cool. Vassalage was definitely one of them. The way that corporations worked in Civ 4, they were essentially like modern religions. And you wanted to go and spread them, and like they'd give you big bonuses. Like cereal company would give you like a bunch of food. So yeah, like you wanted to rush and found those things. So there's a lot of cool mechanics.
So what's your least favorite
my least favorite mechanic, and this is, I'm gonna give a least favorite mechanic, and then I'm gonna give one that I want them to fix.
Okay.
My least favorite mechanic in Civ 6, if I start building a wonder and then I'm like, oh my goodness, if I build it over here it'd be better. I want a way to, I don't know, smear campaign that other wonder, say, oh no, that's not the wonder. I want to destroy that hex. So you know how like if you start building the pyramids
Really?
in that city, you
Oh.
must build it
Okay,
there.
okay,
You
okay, okay,
can't
okay,
then
okay.
suddenly go over to this other city and build it there. There's no way to cancel it.
Right.
The only way
Right.
to cancel it is, I believe, you have to let someone conquer your city and then give it back to you. And anytime that that's the solution, it tells me, well, it means it can happen. So just give me the option, please. Don't make me go through these hoops. I don't even care if it's a project and it cost me a bunch of
Oh
production.
my gosh.
Okay, if that's what they did to dismantle it, but if you did that, and this isn't unheard of, moving buildings, okay, it's not unheard of. We do that. The London Bridge, right? Like that's
Right.
what London Bridge is falling down. That's what it's about. They shipped it, I believe, to the States. So that would be my big one. I'd want them to change that. Something I want them to modify, make more fun, is espionage. Civ 4
Yes.
had
Okay.
great espionage. I think Civ 6, it's too limited. Maybe they're scared. I don't know why they swallowed that fly, but I guess
Civ 4 espionage was pretty broken. Like
it was an entire different game, and I think that's maybe what they're scared of. They don't want it to turn into espionage 6 instead of Civ 6
the
because
one thing
it
that's
got pretty crazy.
the one thing that's different between the Civ 4 era and the Civ 6 era is there's actually like a pretty robust online gaming community that like plays
To test
competitively, right?
everything, yeah.
When you play against computers, you can make the game as broken as you want because you never really play against other humans, right?
Right,
Or at least
right.
competitively. Um, to play on that, my mechanic that I agree with Moy. I don't really like how the loyalty mechanic is operating. I want them to kind of tweak that. I understand the idea behind it, but it does make it like sometimes you just get boxed in very easily just by someone well placed in cities, and then suddenly you're screwed. And they're not even like doing it right; they're just doing it so they can box you in and be annoying. And loyalty really like a +1 city like shouldn't really put that much loyalty pressure on people, right? Like, and so I think that should be amended. One thing I want tweaked, and it's just my own kind of little pet peeve about it, is how governments and economic systems operate. I want it to kind of be a little bit fleshed out more. Too many times, like certain government types are connected too often to like economic policies. Like for example, like you can be a monarchy, and it doesn't necessarily mean you have to be mercantile capitalism or anything like that. You can be like anything, right? And same thing with democracy and things like that. So I kind of want them to flesh out to make the economic policies a little bit more separate and not as connected to like the government that you have, because they can be very separate from that. So I like
So
to see more
do you
ability.
mean do you mean like more like unique civic cards, like where only communism can take this one? Like, don't they already have that? Isn't that
Kind of
like
like that, but what I would like is one, I'd like corporations to come back.
that would be cool?
So I'd like corporations to come back, kind of like a religion, right? And I'd like there to be um, kind of like instead of just a world congress, to be kind of like a world stock market that could change what things are worth. Because now, like, it's kind of like broken in the sense when you play the computer, where the computer just like buys like diplomatic favor from you, which I don't know how that's a thing you can buy. Like, I don't like. I get that it's like kind of like that, but like, how do you sell that? Like, I don't get that how that's actually a commodity that's sold, right? Like, I
Just
still
gotta
don't
make
get.
a phone call.
I don't get the concept, and so um, that's one thing, right? And so I'd like it to be the economics of the world to be a little bit more intertwined, and uh, and have certain economic policies by other civs put the thumb on the scales for what other people have to do when it comes to that. So not just having trade routes, but actually having like
Uh,
um, kind of a way.
Monetary
And then
policy, like
and
I right,
and here's
like
one thing that happens, right? If anyone remembers
yeah.
a game called Rise of Nations, so Rise of Nations was kind of like Age of Empires. I'll wait for him to come back. Uh,
Sure. It's just
but
weird.
yeah,
Okay, he's
it
here.
was like Age of Empires, but you can use gold and buy other resources, right? So if something took food or wood or stone to build, you can buy it, but the more you bought it, shot up its price, and so you couldn't just like endlessly buy something. It would actually like manipulate how much other players can buy it as well, right? And so I think that would be kind of like a really cool concept. Like when someone's trading certain commodities across civilizations, it may change like what it's worth or its price. I don't know how that mechanic works. It's really, I granted it's complicated, but
I super agree though. I super agree. And that would be really neat. Because economies are intertwined, right? And if one economy does go into like a recession or whatever, really that can affect all sorts of stuff. That would be a neat mechanic. I 100% agree. That's a good one, Nystagmus.
So that is all the time that we do have for today. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, but if you want to, you definitely should follow us on social media, specifically on Twitter. We post a lot of good memes on there. We post a lot of good updates, and we post a lot of good stuff. So follow us on Twitter. It's at TheCivShow or twitter.com/TheCivShow.
You know, arguably, Moy, Twitter is impressive and all with its, 150 characters, 250 characters. But wouldn't you rather go to a social media channel where you get to meet all those characters? I know that's where I prefer to go. And you should too. Come to our Discord chat. Our Discord channel is filled with a bunch of awesome Civ players. We talk about all sorts of stuff, but mostly Civ. I happen to know some of the finest pet picks in all of the Twitch kingdom, with so many adorable animals on there. So join us on our Discord, stay connected to us directly, and we hope to see you there.
And lastly, and if you don't want to, if you missed the show, if you're not able to see it, but we do have other content that you can enjoy offline on our YouTube channel. I do a series called Better Know a Leader. I've so far done Sir Wilfrid Laurier, Robert the Bruce, Coupe the Maori, and I've recently done Basil II. The next one is going to be Suleiman of the Ottoman Empire, coming up within the next week or two. Zoe also does his series called Raising Reviews. Hey, it's still there. One is still the start, right?
I'll do
and
one.
Moy also does his own videos as well. That's kind of more miscellaneous of topical things that's going on in the civilization community. And so definitely check out all those different videos. If there's something that you like, we definitely have something that you will like if one of the series that we do. So
and we have a new series, title pending, but it's Civ 6 from different perspectives. We're all playing the exact same map, the exact same map seed, the exact same settings. But how do I play versus how does Zoe play? What happened? What's the difference in our gameplays? Who actually wins in the exact same scenario? That's where you'll find out in Civ 6 from different perspectives on that, and that'll be on YouTube very soon. TM. That's all the time we have for
Civ Show perspectives. And speaking of perspectives, are we rating somebody? We got like a couple people in here.
Let's rate somebody, but I'm gonna say the end of the podcast so that I can have an end.
I don't like giving it. I don't want it to end, Moy. I'm sabotaging the end. I'm trying to sabotage the end. No. Go on. I'll weep later.
That's all the time we have for today. We will see you guys on Sunday, where we're going to be featuring Bose Theseus as a special guest.
We didn't see whose team he's going to be on. You want? Can we quickly do that?
Do it right
now? Okay, we'll do a D6 roll. That's how we're gonna do. So the game mode is going to be. It's going to be another random. I love the random. I thought random was fun. So we're going to do another team random this time. Mix it up a bit. I'm gonna roll this D6. Okay, and Bose, you're going to be with the number that we roll here. So I'm gonna say, Moy, you're gonna be 1, 2. Or you're this way. This way. You're gonna be 1, 2. I will be 3, 4. Nystagmus, you'll be 5, 6. So whatever we roll, that's the team that Bose is going to be on, faced off against the other two. So let's see special effects. Here we go. That's a 4. It's gonna be Bose and Enzo.
Oh no!
We are going to bring the house down. We need a special effect, boy, where the house comes down.
That's right. Get out of here.
Come on, how hard can it be?
Bring your own house down in special effects, huh?
A couple rocks, like maybe a feather, okay? So it'll be a team random game. We'll announce it further in the Discord, the details, but more or less like last week with the magnificent Van Bradley, but it'll be a team game. Me and Bose versus Moy and Nystagmus. I like that. You guys should be friends. You guys have been rivals.
We're gonna do it, man. We're gonna beat you. You're not gonna know what's gonna hit you, man. You're not gonna know.
Good.
It's gonna be good.
And my third attempt to sabotage succeeded. Go ahead, boy. You can end the show.
That's all the time we have for today. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys on Sunday with special guest Bosthesius for our random everything part 2, but 2v2 instead of a 4-player free-for-all. We'll see you guys then. Let's go raid. Let's go raid Zam now. Once this timer is over, because he's the only one that's online. See you guys over in Zam's. Go spam some emotes. Bye.
You got what was Zam's expression? The clever expression. You got Zam.
I don't remember.
Zamboozled or something.